Hey, everybody, it's your Uncle Ed, and I'm here today. We're going to talk a little bit more towards drilling down towards business. This is going to be a little bit of a businessy kind of interview. And boy, do I have a great guest today, Giovanni Lazaro. If you want to roll your R's, you could feel free to do that at any time. But we're going to talk a little bit about small business owners and particularly about like their bookkeeping part of it, because what I have seen over the years is, look, as a business owner, and those of you who are watching who are business owners can relate to this. We're good and passionate at one thing, right? And we're a lot of times we're the PR person of the business, and whatever your widget or your service is, you're so passionate about it. But most of the time, you're not an expert at everything. And some of the things that kind of fall through the wayside are more admin and operations kind of things, because we're more of the kind of artiste, big thinker kind of things. And some of these things just go to the wayside, such as bookkeeping and accounting, even though it's so, so important. So what ends up happening is you come to a point where you realize, I got to outsource this. But then it comes back to the same theme that you guys been seeing me talking about, which is the 5%ers. Who are those 5% of people that are in your life, whether it's professionally, personally, or both? At some point, as a business owner, you have to outsource it, but who do you go to? What are the things you're looking for? What kind of questions should I be asking? Right? Sometimes we don't even know what questions to ask. So today we're going to be asking some of those questions, right? We're going to be having a conversation about the role of bookkeeping and keeping your books tight when you are particularly a small business owner. So please help me welcome Giovanni Lazaro, GWL, Bookkeeping. Giovanni, thank you so much for showing up, man. I appreciate it. And thank you for showing up with the Golden Gate Bridge behind you.
Yeah, it's kind of breezy out here, but I'm happy to be here with you.
Right.
And Ed, thank you so much for inviting me here,
Yeah,
and
man.
hello to everybody out there in your community.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with your height being so, you're up there so up high, the wind must be crazy.
I mean, thankfully my hair is not that long, so again,
Right.
I'm not
Hey,
having a bad hair day today. So yeah.
we
Aerodynamics and
unite.
all.
I'm on that list too. Very good. So let's chop it up, man, because we all know in the United States that small business is really what makes this economy and makes the United States. It's not the big, gigantic ones like we all think, in the romance of, having 40,000 employees. That's not usually the case. It's usually the small business owner, the one who employs a few people, family owned or not, are the ones who run the economy. But as you know, the stressors and the responsibilities of a small business owner are huge, especially now where everything's gotten so expensive. I mean, look, I went to buy ink for ink cartridges and I was just blown away by how expensive the ink cartridges have gotten. I'm like,
Yes.
what? Did I fall asleep for 10 years? Wow. I was just blown away. I mean, and that's just one thing, right? But let's talk
True.
about what you are seeing out there are some of the challenges that business owners, particularly small business owners, are facing, especially in light of so much change, not only with pricing and the cost of running a business, but also with having to have all these things in place, especially the accounting and the bookkeeping. It's just such a huge part because believe me, you don't want to get audited by the IRS.
hmm I agree 100%. One of the business ownership 101 uh, pillars, if you may, is to know your numbers. Again, I fully agree with you. A business owner um, should, that's the operative word, be focusing as much as possible on high level things and the most important part, which is growing and sustaining the business. The presence of in the in individuals such as myself within the ecosystem helps in the process, and having, as the company grows, for example, the from idea to embryo to execution, taking those first steps, there's an evolution of the species where at some point you will reach um, full capacity in terms of how you can go at it by yourself, bootstrapping it, if you may. And it's a good sign actually that you will need people such as myself, because that's a tangible sign of growth. it's a new phase of the business. I I do own a bookkeeping practice. If it's been a couple years now, and I've come from owning businesses myself too. So I've been on both sides of the
Mm,
equation. So that kind of allows me to inject even more so, let's call it some empathy and sympathy
yeah.
for the people that need these kind of services. I specialize on one software specifically, which is QuickBooks Online, which most people in the kind of size is in the know. I do refrain, speaking of the power of words, refrain from uh, offering my services to what I would refer small businesses per se, because every business is as big as they want
Mm,
to be. However, given the fact that I am fractional, I do work with multiple business owners. I don't work in-house. I don't work contract. I want to help multiple companies at the same time. There's basically the amount of services that QuickBooks provides, depending on the size and complexity of the business itself, its its field of expertise, its industry, its legal entity, all of the above, basically. Uh, there is a middle ground of sorts where we help. There's so basically the first tier is people that help do the things by themselves. They bootstrap it. They kind of trying to learn it all. I fit a pretty wide a range in the middle, depending on what they need, given the different tiers of subscriptions that QuickBooks Online provides. Beyond that, at that point, if the company is big enough, they'll hire in-house because it would make
mm.
sense at that point. So
Yeah, that
again,
makes sense.
so that's the dialogue,
Yeah, no,
basically.
that
And
makes total sense. Do you see when you go into to a business, do you see the bookkeeping being like a major issue, especially cleanup kind of issue when you go in for the most part?
there's definitely that. We are, as a species as a whole, and that's perfectly normal. I wouldn't call it guilty, but I am definitely prone to doing that too. We're very reactive in certain things. So basically, there's a last minute, so deadlines come as far as tax season is concerned, and only then you start kind of, okay, let's put our documents together for the tax prepare, and then we see that there's a lot of holes or
Hmm.
there's elements, discrepancies. There's lack of proof in terms of certain purchases. There's documentation that is missing. All of the above. There's, I mean,
Yeah.
and at that point, basically, I'll say this. Sometimes this phase is actually necessary because this is a
Mm,
great experience. Hopefully, uh, it won't be too big of a whoopsie, let's call it, that would hinder the future of the business itself. But uh, let's call them bad experiences are, in a sense, actually great opportunities for lessons and growth, basically. So you try by yourself, you do at capacity. Maybe the ego is tied to it.
mm,
There's something that happens that makes you lose some money or makes you waste a lot of time. Those are the elements that I aim for in terms of clearing those or providing more of them, if you may, to the business owner. Those are what fantastic assets, more money in your pocket, more time to actually dedicate it to growing your business. Uh, this is something that is universally appreciated, I would
yeah.
assume. Speaking of with an abundance mindset, so to speak. So.
No, and I love how you do put that positivity to it because what some people look at is so totally negative. I love how you reframe it to be an actual positive because no matter what part in that ownership journey you are, if you're at that crossroads where you need to hire someone like you will look at it as a positive thing that hey you've reached congratulations you've reached a certain place in your business where you need to grow more right and that growth means more than just you especially when you look at how many businesses, well, what is it, like 85% of businesses go out of business the first 3 to 5 years? I mean,
Correct.
congratulations that you're at that fork in the road. The other thing I wanted to say is, would it be outlandish for me to say that one of the top reasons for businesses to get audited is because maybe they don't have their books tight?
That definitely, I mean, there's a concurrence of reasons for per se. There's upstream and downstream. And of course, if things are, it's like a game of telephone. You're
Mm,
passing on information
yeah,
and whatever mistake or mispronunciation will be greatly distorted as it goes on to the next phase, so to speak. So yes, absolutely. The numbers can, and again, it could be just a simple oversight. Maybe you woke up,
sure.
didn't get your beauty sleep on one day that was crucial.
Yeah,
And but yes, it's it's necessary to know your numbers regardless of the industry because again, as much as you and I are we believe that money is a means to an end, they will provide that future that we so seek and
yeah.
leaving it on the table or just bleeding out your business in a way, it's a pity because it delays um, the person's ability to reach their goals sooner than later.
No, I totally agree. How does the IRS view bookkeeping on a scale of 1 to 10 of importance when even thinking about auditing somebody, would you say?
I would say I'd I was gonna give it a score up to 8, 9, 10. Jokingly I will say depends on there's the joke about the IRS purposely being out there to try to find people or whatnot. So maybe they don't want bookkeeping to be as good. This is
Yeah,
all said in jest. I'm
of course.
not suggesting that. But yes, we do live in the age of information and knowing
Good
things,
point.
being up to date is really important. So again, experience is always extremely valuable regardless.
Yeah.
However, in an ever-changing environment where rules and regulations change quickly, uh, you have to be on top of your game regardless of the business. And bookkeeping has um, its challenges from that point of view because you want to stay up to date for your client's sake. Dialogue. We're also having a lot of conversations not only with our clients but also with CPAs because obviously we want to make sure that we're invested in our client success, of course. And it comes to being always there and checking the pulse of the situation also from whatever new curveball the IRS, or rather, it's not the IRS who does it necessarily, it's Congress or the lawmakers that come with new um, complicated ways of going about the subject, so to speak.
Right. Yeah, yeah. And by the way, guys, I don't know if you caught this. Notice words matter and how he said it. He said, be invested in the success of my clients. You got to pay attention to how people talk. Because if all they're saying is money, 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 me, to me, these are red flags. But notice how Giovanni was speaking, how he's talking about you and being invested in your success. These are some of the things that you need to be looking for when you are interviewing, any kind of professional. It doesn't matter what it is. Now, what are some of the tips that you give business owners as far as their bookkeeping to keep them, as you say, on top of their game so that they can avoid audits, they can avoid any kind of just lack of financial knowledge of their own
Great.
business?
Again, different people operate in different ways. There's different people that like to be more organized and be more hands-on. Obviously, we all have 24 hours a day, so to speak. So we do what we can with the time allotted. I would say, and this is a tip that if anything, comes from my penchant, one of my self-care routines. For example, Ed, you may have known this already. I like to go for long bike rides. And one of the things I learned from endurance athletes' mindset is to think of the moment, but also geared towards the future. So, in other words, do um, it boils down to what would your uh, future self thank you for what your present self is
Mm,
doing. So as far as business owners are concerned, instead of waiting for April, for example, it's just to kind
yeah,
of
I get
check the situation and have a very bad couple weeks, maybe around Easter. If you celebrate it, it'd be difficult to celebrate it with family and friends. If you do, uh, dedicate a little time each month. Just have a fixed moment where you kind of check in a little bit. So it's much easier to do. I'm just saying 1 hour of a week. So for example, it's better to do on a single week exercise 1 hour per day
yeah,
for 5 days as opposed to 5 hours on one day. You want to spread it out because this
right.
allows you to be more in touch with the situation, but not constantly. And it's more about tidying up rather than doing major overhauls. So it's the mindfulness that comes with it. And this is to start. Of course, at some point with growth, as we said, you will want to be dedicated even more so to the growth of your company. So having somebody who's got your back, there's such a thing called the relativity of expertise, which is a
Mm,
concept that I've learned a few years ago, that basically what constitutes expertise for an expert, that really depends on the circle or in the interaction happening in the moment. In other words, if you have 5% more knowledge than the people surrounding you in a given conversation, that makes you the current expert on the subject. All this to say is that business owners, I would recommend at first to get an idea of the broad strokes of every aspect of the business, but once it gets deep, have somebody else do it. It's just, it's not you're not spending money, you're investing it and you're making money work for you, which is, again, one of the pillars, another pillar, if you may, of entrepreneurship. So that would be the biggest piece of advice, basically.
excellent, excellent. And that lines up perfectly with what I've been saying forever, guys. Look, you have to calculate what are you worth per hour, right? Literally do the math. How much are you worth professionally per hour? And then all tasks that are below that, you delegate those things and dedicate yourself to the higher value hourly things that you should be doing, whatever that looks like in your particular business. And the other thing too is that what's so great is that you're also helping the economy of other people too by hiring those professionals, right? So you're helping yourself and you're helping others at the same time. I think that's just not only noble, but it's just smart, right? It's a smart way to live. It's a smart way to run your business. And it's just a great way to create some happiness and create some great economies all over the place because who can't afford to make some more money a little bit, right? And I always believe we're better together too. You know me, I'm a big person in community and building community, especially the business community. And I think that we're all better together. And it's important that we leverage each other's passions and talents to make it a better place. Not just your business, but every business. That's why I say when the tides rise, let all the boats rise, right? Giovanni, this has been
Love it.
fantastic. Thank you so much. I see that you have your email there. Notice everybody, his email is right down there with his name. So it's Giovanni at GWL Bookkeeping with two Ks, two E's, two
Yeah.
O's .com. And is there a phone number that they can reach you at?
Sure, that can also be available, and should I just say it, or would you like me to write it
Yeah, just
down
say it. No,
for your
absolutely.
audience or what? Um, 415. So yes, it's San Francisco. Um, 320-8510.
Excellent. And the other thing too, I want to show everybody is real quick. Here's his website. Let's go here. Not my email, but here's his website, gwlbookkeeping.com. There you will see all his services, how to contact him. So give him a call and have an initial conversation to see if it makes sense for you to be at a point where you need to hire him or schedule it maybe in the future, maybe in 6 months, and you guys talk and plan it. Be
Yeah.
forward thinking. That way you're not reactive, you are proactive. Thank you again so much, Giovanni, as always, I always love chatting with you, man, because you always put things into realistic life perspectives. And I love the fact that you take care of yourself, taking those bike rides. Hey, everybody,
Hmm.
we're human after all. Take a bike ride, take a breath. Remember, yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery, and today is your opportunity. So thank you so much again. Have a great day, everybody. And if you need to get a hold of me, you know how to get a hold of me. I'm always here. Have a
Thank
great
you,
day.
Ed.
Thank you.
Take care.